Hello, and welcome to No Place Like Home with Mike and Megan Norp, where we believe the center of the universe is your home, and our home, and every other home on the planet. On this podcast, we talk about homeschooling, parenting, gardening, home renovations, cooking, really anything, as long as it has to do with being home. Welcome back.
Oh, thank you. It's good to be back.
Yes, it is good to be back.
It's been a while.
Yes, it has.
The last time we recorded this podcast, we were living in a different house.
You're right. I mean, not like that's a really big deal with us.
Yeah, it's true.
We've lived in lots of different houses. Have we counted lately? It's like 18
I'd rather
or so.
not. A lot.
Not 18. I mean, that's including all of the places we lived in college, and we were always willing to move when we found a better deal.
Right.
But that was probably something that would foretell our future change. But yeah, we stopped a little over a year ago thinking it was for just a few months.
Right, during like the intense period of renovation, which we expected to be done over that few months.
Yeah, but the intensity continued. But I mean, it hasn't really. We just now it's been like, okay, we need to get back into it. And
right.
So we're finally here. We're happy to be back. I know a lot of you guys have asked if we were going to do it again. And yes, we're here.
We made it.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So welcome. So if you are listening, you may not see that we're just doing this podcast from our house. I mean, we feel it's kind of appropriate to do a No Place Like Home podcast from home, which means that we are in our living room right now. And we have a lot of kids, and we have cats, and we have Amazon packages being delivered. And so there's going to always be a little bit of background noise, but we hope that's okay. We think it's maybe just adds a little texture.
And if you're listening, this podcast is available also at YouTube, where you can watch it at our YouTube channel. Which
you can see it.
Right, which is North and South. So check that out.
Well, we're home. And just last night I was looking at my Photos app, and it has like a little For You section, which is kind of fun. And especially because I like to be sentimental. And last night I saw one, a year ago today, what we were doing. And it was a walkthrough on this house, in this very room.
Right. And
I mean, you would think I would know, but it blew my mind how much you've accomplished in the last year. Really impressive.
Well, we've all worked on it. But.
Well, we had this house since 2019, but it wasn't until 2023 where we finally figured out what we were going to do. We talked with several different people about building, architects, designers, until we decided in probably early fall of 2022. I can't remember the years. Yes, early fall 2022
right.
that we just wanted to do it ourselves.
Right.
And so we went back to our draftsman and had him draw plans that we thought weren't too far outside of the realm of what you could actually learn to do. I'm not going to say what you knew how to do, but what you could learn to do.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if we could have pushed you any further than we did. We took off stuff like before we were going to raise the roof.
Yeah, package just got delivered.
Yes, the UPS man and I just made eye contact.
Eyes.
He's probably like, oh my goodness, what are people doing? But no, we took off stuff like putting a new roof line on it, and
we simplified quite a bit. We did not expand the footprint.
Yeah, enough that we thought could Mike learn from YouTube how to do this thing that we are having our draftsman draw.
This podcast sponsored by YouTube.
Yeah. And if you want to see him do it, there are literally so many clips in the last year on our channel, North and South, of you like watching a video as you're about to start. It's like right there.
To do whatever it is.
Like the front door here, you were like sitting outside watching a video on how to install a door with the door leaning against the house or whatever,
Well, because what I learned was that it's kind of futile to try to watch something ahead of time, because you don't really know when it's going to happen until it's actually happening, and so you'll probably forget what you watched anyways, and you're going to have to watch it while you're doing it to really understand what you need to do.
Yeah. Because if you watch it, you're like, okay, that seems simple enough, and then you start to do it, you're like, what? So then you watch it differently
I know.
when you go back, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, it's incredible that you have those resources now that you really can just watch a YouTube video on just about anything.
Mm-hmm. Learned a lot.
In fact, our 3 boys, Asher, Peter, and Jude, are just got a project car from my brother. He gifted us a car that needs some work, and they are all over YouTube. Last night we came home, and all 3 of them were watching a video on
fixing something on a car. I'm not even sure if it actually really applied to what they need to do, but
they are so
got
electrified.
pretty excited by it.
Yes, they're electrified by this car. Today they were all out there washing it, with like drying it off, and then they waxed it and buffed it. They cleaned out the inside. They're so electrified, energized.
That car is spotless now.
I know, it is. It's like Mike was saying, it probably hasn't been that clean in a long time.
Who knows? Because it was in pretty bad. It is in pretty bad shape, like physically, but at least it's clean now. So
yeah.
But that's a great. Obviously, that's a great learning experience, and so give your kids a car; they can really get excited about it.
Yeah, well,
and junker.
I think you have been such a good example of just moving forward. And really, that's what we wanted to talk about today. We've been talking about that a lot lately, about as we've grown older, now that we are in our golden years. We're both in our mid-40s.
Mid-40s.
Yeah, we're both in our mid-40s. And for the first time in my life, I'm starting to have the experience where I'm standing around with a group of moms, and I realize, like, they'll say something, and I'll realize, like, oh, I'm the old woman in this crowd.
You're the old one now.
Yeah, like last night it happened to me. I was at a youth activity, and the other youth leader, the other gal there, was talking about how in middle school she asked her parents for a phone. And I said, like, a wall phone. And
you kind of added to the conversation,
yes.
like a wall phone?
Yeah, well, because I thought it would be more interesting for the girls. And the other leader looked at me and she's like, I'm not that old. Like, no.
She looked at me, what are you talking about?
And like, she thought I was kidding, kind of maybe. And I wasn't kidding. I really thought she was.
Wanted the physical line.
Yes, I thought she was asking for a phone in her room. But no, she was asking for a phone upgrade so she could text more easily. And I suddenly felt like that, you know, in the movies when it's like a horror film where all of a sudden like the hall gets like really long, like whoa.
Right, like the perspective changes.
Yeah. I was like that. I was like in the room. I guess I'm probably 15 years older than anybody else in the room, including the other adult in the room.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think she was aware of that.
Yeah, she knows that.
I think that, so I'm having those experiences more and more.
Those of us that are aging aren't aware.
And I was just thinking just last night how happy I am to be in the place that I am. I mean, there's definitely some adjustment when you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, okay, well, that's new. You know, okay. I didn't used to do that, but that's fine. But I'm also really happy with how grounded I feel, how like stable I feel. Mm-hmm. I'm going to a work thing coming up, and I haven't, like, to a work conference.
Right.
Mike knows about for doTERRA. And I haven't gone to one in a couple of years just because of 2020 and moving and all that stuff. And I was thinking about how last time I went, I felt so much younger and how I am so much more comfortable in myself.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of that is both you and I have learned that you'll figure things out.
Yes.
And that you don't need to worry as much as you think you do.
Yeah, the stress may not be worth it.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot about that because you just spent a year really, you went down deep in that zone where you didn't know what you were doing.
Yeah, because I really had zero experience in home renovation up to that point. Just a few little things we'd done in previous homes, but I would never have qualified myself or called myself handy or any of those things.
I wouldn't call you that either. No, I'm just kidding.
You would have been right. So yes, I had to go and really learn from the ground up. That's a construction pun. How to do what I needed to do. I had nothing really to draw from.
Well, I was actually I forgot until just now that I was kind of nervous because in the past, when we had done some renovations, because we did a little bit of renovating on this house just to make it kind of livable before we figured out what we were doing with it.
Right.
And you had to put in a beam
Yeah, to remove a load-bearing wall, which is actually where we're sitting right now.
Yeah, and you, but I remember one day in particular, you needed to do some electrical work.
Uh-huh.
And you were so stressed.
Right.
Just because you were, and when I say electrical work, you were moving an outlet.
Right, yeah.
And and you were stressed, and I also was stressed because of like all that needed to get done and the unknowns of it. But we were a little bit sensitive, snippy with each other during that process.
Well, that was a little bit of a pattern at the beginning there, especially.
And so when we started this major part of the renovation where you had to do so many things, I was nervous. I wondered. I wasn't nervous, but I wondered.
Are we going to be like?
Yeah, how's this going to go? But you have just been amazing at not freaking out.
Well, it has happened. I think I've had definitely moments where you're really wondering if you can make this happen. But yeah, I don't know. You learn to measure that, and that just comes with the experience of doing it. I don't know.
Well, I think when we did the first little renovation, and you were so stressed, did that inform your ability to not be as stressed this time?
It might have. It's hard to remember how you actually felt. At least for me, it is, because I'm not that in tune with my feelings. But I do remember like some of the things that I did here, and being so overwhelmed and stressed by it that I didn't even want to have the camera on, because we were vlogging then, and we were trying to document it, but it was so overwhelming that I couldn't even have the camera on during it. And so
you're like in your little place.
Yeah, you're like, you just cannot think outside of the thing you're trying to do and the stress of trying to figure it out. And you're also, it's not fun to.
When you're like battling your demons, like, who do I think I am?
I know, yeah. So you're right. There's a lot going on. And so I guess from that standpoint, during this process, I've been able to record most of it, and I haven't had any issues with that. So it must have done something.
Yeah, I think probably the memory of like, I figured it out.
Yeah.
We were okay. And then, I don't know, growing up a little bit.
Yeah, that probably helps too. And then just recognizing like, well, this is just the way it's got to be. We're just going to figure this out.
Yeah.
So.
You know what I bet it is? I was going to say it's your 40s, and it may be, but it's like what magical, that's just like how we divide up our life. I don't think anything magic happens at 40, but
right.
I do think your children entering into adult life might be part of it. Because you suddenly realize that you're in a different, now you've moved up a level, because now your kids are doing something that you don't feel like you were doing that long ago. Maybe that's in part, but
yeah. Well, and they have questions about things that you are like, you're very familiar with that, and so it's like, okay, there were other times where I was unsure,
just realize how far you've come as you watch them.
And then so you're like, okay, so I can do it again this time.
Yeah.
And then I think also once you start to figure out a certain number of things, then you start to gain more confidence in your ability to do that, and it's not quite as scary to keep moving forward.
Yeah, and so I guess it just kind of built slowly or gradually this understanding in both of us that like we can learn new things, and they can be pretty major. And not only that, you can become a totally different version of yourself,
right?
Or way more improved, or the thing you want to be. 100% you can.
Sure.
Like nothing's off the table. Now, I shouldn't say nothing's off the table, because if I said I wanted to go be a pole vaulter in the Olympics, that's probably off the table for me. Even the first time we were renovating in this house, it was off the table for me to be able to lift things with you. And I was like, I don't know if that's my age. I definitely know it has to be being a woman. I can't lift as heavy as you can, but
right.
So I shouldn't say nothing's off the table, but I think so much more is possible than I realized before.
Yeah, and a huge part of doing, whatever that is that you're thinking about is just the confidence. It's just the confidence that you can do it, and that you can figure it out.
Yeah, and that you just start.
Yeah.
You're always saying that.
Because like I said, you don't know even what questions to ask really until you've just started. Because I remember the very first thing I did in this house before we moved in the first time, because I don't know if people need the history if you haven't watched the videos, but we lived in this little house for about 9 months with the understanding that we would do a major renovation, but we weren't ready yet. So we just moved in and we did a few things in order to make it livable, because we had 7 children at home at that time. And the first thing I had to do was move an outlet. So this was the very, very first thing. And I remember I was like, I can probably figure that out. And you get here, I put on my tool belt, and then I looked at the wall at the outlet and realized, other than unscrewing the faceplate, I really didn't know what to do beyond that.
Really?
Yeah.
See, you didn't share this with me. That's interesting.
So that's when I called my dad.
Okay.
So in this scenario, I didn't watch a video, but I called my dad and said, "Okay, Dad," because I knew that my dad is a mechanical engineer. He's very handy and just knows how to do lots of stuff.
Also, he's a lot older.
He's had a lot of experience.
Yeah.
And so he walked me through what I need to do to move the outlet. And then I'm like, okay. And so then I go to Home Depot and I get the things I didn't know I needed, but I couldn't really ask those questions until I'm standing in front of it and needing to do it.
And also that time it made you very stressed every time you had to go back to Home Depot.
I know, yeah, you're right.
Because you go to Home Depot, you go once, and you think you got your stuff. You never do.
Yeah.
But that was it was almost like you felt like you were doing it wrong, or you were like obviously showing what an amateur you were, your ignorance, because you had to go back like
That's true. I forgot about
times.
that because I remember thinking like, dang it, I gotta go back to Home Depot again, and I would you beat yourself up over it, and now.
It's like you're going to go back to
I'll
Home
just be
Depot.
like, I'm going to Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever. I'll see you in a little bit, and
you got like
just
piles of receipts.
I know.
Because you're definitely getting the wrong thing.
You got to be able to keep those receipts so you take it back. But that you realize that's just part of the process.
And how many videos have you watched in the aisle at a home improvement store?
Oh yeah, you're Googling what do I need if I do this?
Yeah.
And then you're looking like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I used to be embarrassed about that. I don't care anymore, or I'm happy to accept the help of the employee if they are around.
And sometimes they give terrible advice.
They don't always know what to do.
Yeah.
And they don't always understand your situation. Anyways.
But no, I bring that up because I think both you and I have gotten more comfortable. We know now that when you start to do something and you want to do something new and you want to grow towards being different or have a new skill, not only are you going to need to just start and do one step at a time, but also like you're going to be terrible at it.
Oh, sure.
And like there's no way through it but terrible.
Right.
And Andrew has talked about this with us a lot because with his writing, and he's listened to a lot of people talk about that as writers. Like you've got to write 10,000 terrible words before you can write any good ones or whatever. But it's so much harder at the beginning to do that than you think it will. Like you're so embarrassed. You cringe at yourself so much. And if you can get comfortable with the cringe, I actually expect the cringe and see it as a marker of like, I'm on my way.
Yeah.
Like the train, like the smoke and the like, it's like cringe, until it's like, hey, that's not half bad. Or like, hey, it worked. And so I think that experience and then some other experiences I've had where like, when I started in 2020, I was selling furniture. I was flipping furniture, which like everybody started in 2020.
Because everything's shut down. And,
I guess so.
But Facebook Marketplace was up and running, and we're all like buying used furniture.
I guess so. But like in 2019, I had been watching all these videos. I had painted a few pieces of furniture terribly, right? Yeah. They looked terrible. The paint would come off so easily. I did not know what I was doing at all. I mean, I remember when my sister said, I knew you were supposed to use chalk paint. I'd heard about chalk paint.
What is this magical thing
and then
called chalk
then my sister told me like, oh, you need to put wax on top, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's too much. I'm out. I can't. I can't do it. But then by the middle of 2020, I'm just like churning through, and I had gained all of these skills and all of this knowledge, and it's like, wow, I used to like. I couldn't even like paint like a little side table. I had I used the wrong paint. Mm-hmm. It was overwhelming for me. I could never get it to look like I wanted. And now like I know I'm pretty comfortable in this space, and I know what I should use and the tools and how to get, the method and stuff.
Well, not only that, but you enjoy it. Like there's a satisfaction to it because especially, I know when we have to paint like doors and stuff like that, you're like, no problem.
Yes.
To me, it's kind of overwhelming, but to you, it's like, yeah, that's easy. I'll do that.
And I've seen the job you do on the doors.
I know.
I definitely think.
I painted a couple of doors for our bathroom and closet, and they don't look as good as Megan's doors.
Well,
that
I
she's
think
painted.
you just learn things. But I guess what I learned more importantly, because I don't flip furniture anymore. I learned also that like it really hurts when you're painting that much. But
physically, because your wrists and your hand.
But what I learned was that how to learn things.
Yeah.
You know, and I think obviously we've all done that a million times over, but maybe at a certain point in your life you're more cognizant of it or something. At least for you and I feel like the last 4 years since 2020 have been a reoccurring theme of you can learn new things, and like here you are, you're learning something new again. You're in this phase of like the cringe or the terror,
Sure.
like and
true.
learning to get comfortable in the cringe, get comfortable in the terror, because the terror always comes.
Yeah. There's always going to be days where you're really not sure if this is going to work, or.
But I mean, but you are able probably now, I would imagine, when it used to take over your whole brain, now to just like go put it to the side.
You put it on the back seat.
Yeah, and you're like, I know,
whatever.
I'll figure it out.
And when that is the operative term or the statement you say to yourself, I'm sure I'll figure it out. Like that is now.
And sometimes you're like, I'm sure I'll figure it out.
But that's what runs in my brain. Like, I'm sure I can figure it out.
Yeah.
And I haven't done anything yet that I haven't figured out. I mean, there are some things you'll do better than other things because maybe you're naturally more inclined to something, but
also as you start to learn things and you look around, you become more aware of them, and you start to realize nobody's doing anything perfectly.
Oh yeah, if you walk into a home and start looking at the trim or the doors or the paint job, and you look close as you look at your own stuff, you start to see like, oh, nothing. The professionals do not do it perfectly. I'm sure there are high-end homes out there, whatever, that everything is just perfect. But most of us, the homes that we live in, it's not perfect, and you don't even think about it.
Yeah, but I think any new skill you learn before you go into it, you think, here's where everybody else is that knows how to do this, and here's where I am.
Right.
But those things get closer. I mean, I think they kind of move. Sometimes you'll feel closer, and sometimes you'll feel farther away. I mean, because then there's like the crazy experts, like you said.
Yeah.
The $1 million homes, well, that doesn't mean anything anymore, does it? The $10 million homes, those may have that. But everything else down here, you're not as far as you think.
Yeah.
And so that was the same with furniture. As soon as I started painting furniture, I started looking around at maybe like at antique malls or other people who are selling, and I'm like, oh, they're still struggling with some of the things I'm struggling with because this is just part of it. Or any new skill we've learned, you start to realize that most people aren't doing things perfectly, and it's not the thing you want to become and learn and grow into is not as far away as you think it is, and it's not as impossible as you think it is either.
Right.
And we just love to do that to ourselves. Like, I am this static thing, and I will not ever be able to be this thing over here. And it's like, yeah, it's not, you are not as static as you think you are. We love to talk about like what you are, what do you identify as, or be true to yourself, or like, what is the statement everybody says now? Like, you got to do you, or like figure out who you are and be that thing. And it's like, I think we change a lot more than we realize. We're not as static.
Yeah, we're always changing.
Yeah, and so it can be really dangerous. I'm just now veering into a whole new thing, but it can be dangerous to think you are static, both because you'll be afraid to change, but also because you might actually just create a little like echo chamber or
bubble or something like that.
Yeah, for yourself. Like when people take personality tests, like then they just identify as this thing, and it's like, that personality test is not that's not like a law of the universe. Somebody looked and observed and then created some categories and wrote a book.
And then sold you that book.
And especially, like that is not a thing. There is no INFP or ENFP or ENFJ. Like that is not an actual thing.
Those are personality types, by the way, of
yes,
a certain,
if you don't know.
metric.
Or like a 7-wing 3 or whatever those Enneagrams are. Enneagrams aren't real.
Or a squiggle or...
Yes, yeah, or an introvert or an extrovert.
Yeah.
Introverts and extroverts are not real. You're just a person. And you're going to change, and some days you're going to want to be talking to more people, and some days you're not. But man, I think humans are so good at putting themselves into boxes that if you get a box, you feel so comfortable and cozy in that box. And then you find a little community or tribe of other people who have put themselves into that box, and you just start reflecting back to each other like, we're introverts. And you're like, yes, I'm an introverted, so I'm going to keep acting like this. But like, I don't know, maybe since introvert is not an actual thing, like people are so complex. Since you're not an actual, like you are a person, not an introvert. That's not a thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a scientific category. That you can actually be whatever you want. Like you don't need to play by some rules. And, you know, and I think, and that goes all across the spectrum. And I think we do ourselves a disservice when we identify with too rigid of, you know, personality markers or groups. You just have to be really careful, I think.
Yeah.
And so for me, you know, your whole life, you said you weren't handy.
Right.
You always did. And I think that was probably because your dad was a mechanical engineer.
Right. Compared to him, I wasn't. You know, like.
And also he's way older than you.
Yeah, well, that's true. He's also 30 years older than I was.
Yeah.
Still is, actually.
It's weird. He has just consistently stayed 30 years older than you.
Somehow.
No matter how much you age, he keeps aging too. So yeah, he's always 30 years ahead of you on the curve. And so by comparison, you're not handy. But maybe that's also part of why it's typically in your 40s you become more comfortable, because your parents are kind of now in a different phase where they're not like, I don't think our parents are gaining new skills as rapidly as they were before. And so now you actually, I know your dad is.
He just learned how to weld a few years ago.
Yeah, but maybe we can approach them a little bit more.
He's staying ahead of me at least. He's still pretty. He's a good example of learning new skills.
Oh, he absolutely is.
And he did come and help with all the electrical in the house. I mean, you go back to me calling him to move one outlet. He came out here and helped me rewire the whole house, which is pretty awesome.
And he had all sorts of charts and.
Oh, he knows what he's doing. He has the resources. He's good.
But you know what's exciting? I'll be able to encourage you as you help our kids with that.
Well, you mean in the future someday?
Yeah.
Well, and this is another part of this that I think is awesome, is that when your children get to watch you learning something new, because I think a lot of times as a child, you assume that your parents have it all figured out, or that they just know, well, it depends on what age of a child you are. When you become a teenager, you think your parents know nothing, but
that's not entirely true. But to a certain degree.
But it is. I think it's because I've witnessed it with our own children. When they see you working on something and trying to figure something out, then it gives them permission to be working on something and trying to figure out something as well, and they don't have to feel, because that's funny how this idea of being uncomfortable, trying something new, it starts pretty early in life, and so. Part of it is if your kids see you do that, then they feel comfortable with it. And then also you give them the freedom to figure something out. You don't just you don't discourage them either. Like you encourage them to try to figure things out so that they continue with that into adult life, because it's a great asset to have, because I don't know. I feel like I lack that myself as an adult. Like I was really afraid to try to do new things. It's good for your kids.
Yeah, we feel like we're hoping that we're normalizing doing new things for our kids.
Right.
And we're normalizing that process of cringe and failure. And
then it isn't failure, it's just a process of learning.
Yeah, like kind of tripping your way to getting better at something.
Right.
We hope that we're normalizing that for them. And I think this car that the kids are working on.
Yeah, did we already say that?
Did we mention that? My brother gave us a car that he had gotten. It's not too old. It's in the
2007
or something. I don't know.
2004, I think.
Yeah, Audi. It's beautiful, but it needs a lot of work. And he gave it to the boys, and they are just so electrified by it.
Asher and Peter.
Thank you. And Jude too.
And Jude is kind of tagging along.
Yes. And so they are watching YouTube videos and doing that whole process. And I'm hoping that's because of our influence. Because the reason I'm hoping that is because I'm hoping they'll do it again and again and again. And they have. They have watched us. In fact, Peter said to me like a week and a half ago, he's like, I always assumed that when you became an adult, you were just like done. And you didn't learn anything new. He's like, but now I realize like you just keep learning for the rest of your life how to do things, new things, and do things better.
Oh wow!
And it warmed my heart. I was like,
yes.
Oh, I hope I played a role in that, because I hope that I have that sort of influence on my kids. Like that I want all of them to know that like you want to be more of this and less of this, or closer to that. I mean. And I have to keep reminding myself of that too, but like, you can. Well, stop trying to categorize yourself as a thing. You're not. You're always evolving and becoming something different.
And it must be very obvious to Peter that we have no clue what we're doing. Like, obviously,
Peter.
Since you have no clue what you're doing.
It was actually me painting.
Oh, right.
Because
Megan's working on that too.
Yes,
that's
I have
a
just
new thing.
wanted to.
Not painting furniture. This is now painting.
Yes.
Pictures. I don't know. Things.
Yeah, I have always wanted to illustrate.
Right.
Like not just paint like a still life, but like actually illustrate for a story. And I also need to learn to write a story. But it's funny because in our family, now that we're all trying to do things we don't know how to do, and that we've kind of started that ball rolling through unschooling and all the things we've been doing over the last decade or so, we kind of reflect back to each other. So our kids will tell us like, oh, I learned how to do this, Mom, so you can actually learn how to do this. And so we're all kind of like reflecting back to each other now that we can be different than we are now. And so I'm going to reiterate it again. There's no such thing as love languages.
Did you already say there's no such thing as love languages? Or are you just saying in general, like
there's
this
no
idea?
such thing as personality types. There's no such thing as enneagrams. I mean, like, these things can be very helpful, right? It's like there's no such thing as green, right? Green is not a thing. It's just a word we use to describe a certain set of colors. And
the shirt you're wearing right now.
Yes. But like, if you actually start looking at green, like when does it become green and yellow? Like it's, like there's this little, and then all of a sudden now it's green. But like, there's literally endless greens. And so remember that these tests and these labels can be helpful in a way, but the reality is outside of those words. And humans are very complex. You are very complex, and you're always evolving. And so it feels safe to get a title and to get a group identity and to get
a
category or a definition of yourself.
Yeah.
But be so willing to discard that, or be so willing to say, well, that's just, because we've talked about, are you an introvert and I'm an extrovert? And you're like, well, but that doesn't ring true to me. And instead of feeling like you're supposed to pull closer to the personality or to the test, which you will, your brain can't help it. Mm-hmm. Be a little bit more on guard to say, well, that's an interesting explanation, but it's just an explanation.
Yeah.
The person who wrote these Enneagrams descriptions didn't meet every person that ever was. And in fact, it's so funny, even some of those tests will be like, now, you might think you don't fit into these categories. There's that one about the dressing your truth one.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you guys.
I dress my truth every day. What are you talking about?
Well, there's a test about dressing your truth, and it has 4 categories. So there's apparently 4 different types of people in the world, and that is it. Oh, well, there's one subcategory. So maybe we can move that to, I don't know, what does that make it, 8 or 16? I don't know. Listen, that lady... It's helpful to understand that maybe there's some clothes that help you look more yourself, sure. Like it might be strange for a really assertive, intellectual woman to wear baby doll dresses. Maybe. Who cares?
But maybe she likes those.
Yeah, but like, but the idea that like there's an actual energy out there that tells you how you must put your clothes on and wear your clothes, or else you won't, whatever. It's like, listen, she sold some books with that. And now she sells clothes and jewelry and haircuts and brilliant. It's a brilliant plan. But all of them are like that.
The Dressing Your Truth lady is going to come after us hard after this.
She is. She's definitely listening to this podcast. And she's like, oh, that's so type 4 of you to say that. But it's like, whoa. I'm not an introvert or an extrovert.
Megan only says this because she has read so many of these things
and
gotten into them.
So many.
She's had personal experience on a lot of these.
And it's like they serve you, you think they're serving you and up to a point, but all of a sudden you wonder, am I only doing this because I'm told that's what will serve me better? I just think identity, group identities and definitions of your identity can help you understand some parts. Mm-hmm. Like, I just need a little bit more maybe alone time than you do, or I feel, sorry, the cat is like staring at me through the window, wants me to let him in. But
he's not coming in though.
But like, I know it can be helpful. It's helpful to maybe recognize that we're all different. But I also have seen myself and others get so, like that comes before them, like the definition.
Okay.
And you want to stay in your group. And so you will actually evolve. You'll just keep, like, you'll stay, prophecy. What is that, like a closed circuit? It'll become closed like a closed loop, instead of like, well, I used to be that way, but I'm much less that now.
Right.
But you know, like the one that we love from Gallup, the Strengths Finder.
Yep.
It says like these are immutable. And you're like, well, but what if I was just in a weird mood when I took the test?
Personality tests are never accurate for me.
Yeah, so, no, they're never accurate because you don't like tests.
I have no idea who I am.
Yeah.
So it comes down to.
But you do know who you are. But you don't know what do they want from that question, and what does that word really mean to the one who wrote the test. And so over here, be careful, but with these tests and these group identities and these definitions of like, you know, even as far as like boss babe, girl boss, all of those things, right? I mean, and it's gone as far as like, I'm gender queer, instead of like, I'm just a person.
Right.
When, you don't fit exactly into this very rigid definition of what it means to be this gender, then you must be queer. And it's like, or you're just a person.
Right.
Like, nobody does. Maybe there is some random person that does fit into that, but I would guess that they won't their whole life. That they won't, you know, have an experience that kind of changes them and softens some edges or brings something up. And so it's like, dude, we're all just like very complex, beautiful things. And so don't worry so much when people are trying to define you with words.
Right.
And don't do that so much for yourself, because in the end, it might keep you from changing into a person that you enjoy being even more than that. I know it seems unfathomable, but you might not always want to be that definition. You might not always want that tattoo. You might not always think that was a great idea.
This is the grandma coming out now.
Yeah, I know. I just think about if the things that I thought I was even 4 years ago. And so it's like, just maybe we could all just settle down a little bit with defining ourselves.
And don't rush to define what you are or who you are.
Yeah, and you can have a few, right? Yeah. Like, I am your wife.
Right.
That's, but, you may die before me. I'll still be your wife, I guess. But then I'm going to get this really rich husband.
Yeah,
no, I'm just kidding.
That's a good move.
No,
I can't argue with you on that one.
That to me, it's like, I wish I had to learn through my experiences that I can't be defined, and it's unnecessary. And those definitions might keep us from growth. And so, yeah. And I think we're also in an age of like gurus, like, I need to go find a teacher or a counselor or a coach or whatever.
Here we are teaching.
I know, we have a podcast. But like, maybe you could just spend some time. Yes, you go and watch the YouTube videos, but how many times have those been wrong?
Yeah, sometimes. Or you realize 5 different videos will give you 5 different ways to do something.
Yeah.
So it turns out there wasn't one, only way to do it.
Yeah. So maybe just bring it down a few notches. Recognize you can probably figure it out. Mm-hmm. Watch their things. Listen. I'm not saying that there should be no experts. I'm not saying that at all. I just think we've gotten weird. We've gotten weird, and the thing is, I think about our grandmas all the time. How quiet their life was and how private it was, right? And there's that trope that in the old days when you lived in these small towns that everybody knew what you're doing. It's not even close to what it's like now. Not even close. You
mean the amount that people know what you're doing?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Everybody you don't want to live in a small town. You're always being watched. It's well, now they didn't know what you were eating for breakfast and what you did for your workout that day. And
apparently, we must have liked it because we all naturally share it.
Yes, maybe we do want to go back to the small village where everybody knows what's going on in our life. But I think about all the time about how my grandma or my great grandma, my grannies, who would make food for their family. And it was very quiet. She was making, the food that probably she ate when she was growing up, and nobody knew but her family what they ate for dinner. Mm-hmm. And if they decided to go on a little trip, they went on a little trip. They might take a couple pictures that maybe someday eventually someone else would see.
Got into the photo album.
Yeah, and I just think what happened when it was that private? And there were no personality tests. Mm. You didn't even know what ways you were changing because you hadn't defined yourself so rigidly. You hadn't declared yourself as being something so outwardly because you weren't asked to. There was no place for you to go post who you were and have your brand. Right? And so
all things that
your personal brand, yes. And I've encouraged other people to do. Yeah, I know.
It's funny that we're talking about this on a podcast and we have a YouTube channel.
I'm talking to everything we do. I know, you're right. No, what I'm saying is I guess because I get to think about it a lot. We all do it now to a certain degree.
Uh-huh. So how does this relate to, because you're saying
the danger in doing that is that Granny she wasn't aware of her identity so much, so she could change more and it was less noticed. Even maybe by herself. Because she didn't have all these words.
Well, and she wasn't being told to check in with herself so often with who or what she was.
Yes, and she wasn't declaring, she wasn't joining even groups on social media or things along those lines. And so I do think about that a lot. How did that change things for them and their ability to change on their inner journey and their outer journey in the privacy of their life? Privacy gives you the chance to become something different. I when I went to college and I didn't room with anybody I knew. I didn't even know anybody at all.
Yeah.
I just got random roommates. I went in the summer. I started in the summer term. So I didn't know anybody there.
Yeah.
And it was brilliant.
Very
I can
free.
shed everything that I didn't really feel was working for me in high school and all the titles that we were given. And I think that's probably in part why we identify with groups, is because public school was that was the way to survive. Find your group.
Yeah.
Or Jordan Peterson would say it's because of our, what is that, ancient past where you wanted your little tribe so they could help you get food and survive. And so we want to get back into being part of the group.
Yeah.
But there was because no one knew me and there was a lot of privacy in that, I could change. And I think about that a lot now. We definitely think that a lot because I can go back and watch an old video and I cringe so hard. And I will cringe so hard at this someday, I'm sure. But I cringe hard because of my hair and my clothes and the things that I'm saying with such certainty. And so then that confuses me. If there was no video evidence, or you read when Facebook will tell you the post you made 12 years ago, you're why was I telling people I like pancakes?
Why who cares?
Nobody cares that you like pancakes. I think, oh man, it would probably be easier to change if I didn't have to identify so publicly who I was all the time. Or at least I get to think about that a lot more than maybe most people, because I do post my entire life. But I think a lot of people are doing that to a certain degree, and you just have to create a space for yourself to not maybe identify, to just constantly remind yourself to pull back from identifying with these words and these definitions. And then also, I saw a great quote like a few months back that said, like, if you didn't cringe when you looked back, then that would mean you weren't growing.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, it's okay that you're kind of horrified by your past self.
Well, it's like we said, the cringing along the way of learning a skill.
Yeah.
This is kind of cringing along the way of learning life or whatever.
To grow up.
Progressing.
Yeah. So I think about times when I spoke with just certainty about things I really had no business speaking with certainty about. So anyways, I don't know if that makes sense, but I guess the main thing is we've learned that you can learn and that you can change and you can be very different than the thing that you thought you were so solidly.
Right. Yeah, we're more malleable than we realize.
Is it productive to go, I see people saying they're going to go on a path of self-discovery. I don't know if that is necessary. I think
you learn about yourself by doing stuff.
Yeah, and like
not necessarily in the seeking of it.
Yeah, and also like you can be very different all the time, and you're not as solid a thing as you think you are. Like, I wasn't being authentic to myself. It's like, or maybe that really was you in that moment.
Right.
And now you would like to be something different. Or there's all sorts of strange things we say now. Like that somehow there's some little tiny thing inside of you that if it's opened, everything is now authentic or real, or you've discovered some gem. Like,
oh, you unlock some.
I just think you're like the air. Like, it's got a lot of things in it.
Right.
Like, you're a lot of things all at once, and you can discard some of those things and you can amplify some of those other things. But to think like you can't feel happy, or you can't really live a full life until you've discovered who you are. I'm also speaking from experience, but now I get to watch other people do it and think like, I don't know, man. I don't know if you are a thing. You're just yourself, and like.
And you will change over time.
Yeah, you'll change every day, and like, I don't know. I don't know what that means anymore. We've done it so hard now. I don't know what that means anymore, the path of self-discovery, or like I'm trying to be true to myself. Like, how about, I think you could be true to principles. I think you could be true to truth.
Integrity,
but like, I see a lot of time of people trying to reflect on self, and they just don't seem to be getting happier or more wise.
Or fulfilled or whatever.
Yeah, so.
It's a never ending, it's like a black hole. Like, you just can't do it enough. And you never actually reach. It's a mirage, like you never get there. You just keep on going toward it, and it never materializes. So it's this endless.
I need another
search.
test. I need another like coaching, a new coach or whatever. I think, or a new counselor, or a new medication, or a new. It's like.
Meanwhile, you're not really living. You're just sort of trying to figure yourself out.
And I don't know what the answer is. I wish I did. I really wish. I don't know why.
If only we had
I don't
the
know
answers
why I asked her,
to all these questions.
Yeah, I still have a cat staring at me, by the way. He's very cute. But
he's trying to stare us down.
Wait,
there's one thing that I like about that. I want to kind of go back to the whole doing stuff, having your children witness you do stuff. And then I think you may have, so I'm kind of switching gears a little bit, but you kind of might have referred to it, how when the family is all engaged in learning, everyone's doing their thing. And this goes back to how we like to school our children, or homeschool, which is this unschool thing where everyone can kind of explore what they're interested in. It gives your children then the chance to turn around and teach you something, which I think is a awesome thing for your child to be able to teach mom or dad something that they've learned. And I'm saying that because, so along with me learning stuff, they're learning stuff. And I just this last week decided I would start going to the gym with Peter and Asher, because Elijah was taking them to the gym to lift weights.
Andrew before him.
And Andrew before that. And they would go and do their thing, and they've all been learning how to do that, because it's a, I'm not sure if you call it a skill, but it is.
Yeah.
You have to learn what exercises to do, how to do them, and to be comfortable doing them, especially in a gym where it's actually can be very intimidating. And then Elijah has moved away back over to Virginia. So I thought, well, maybe I'll go with the boys, because I've always wanted to lift weights, to strengthen myself in that way. Yeah, I mostly run, but so I went with Peter and Asher. Asher likes to do his own thing, so I just went with Peter. And Peter, for the past week, has been teaching me how to lift weights. And suddenly, I think this is the first time Peter has had the chance to teach me something, and I can tell that he enjoys it, and it's made it, he is more committed to doing it himself because I'm coming along, and he's getting more confidence because he sees that I'm sort of unsure of myself in that situation, being at the weight room or whatever, and he's more confident there. And so there's that beautiful moment where your children can then turn around and teach you something, and they are okay with it because they know that mom and dad are always learning stuff. I'm always learning things, and it doesn't have to be this imbalance of power, and it doesn't. It's okay that if you're on the receiving end of learning something, or on the giving side. Anyways, that was just a little another experience this week of learning or teaching, which was nice. But
also goes back to probably for a long period of your life, you always thought, I'm not somebody who lifts weights.
Yeah, no, I've kind of identified as someone who does not go to the gym. I'm more of I just run.
And Elijah definitely did. And then suddenly finds he loves lifting weights.
Yeah.
And so I know I went all over the place with lots of things about that.
This is how we do it on this podcast, people.
But I think you can grow and become something totally different than you are now. And that's such a happy, exciting thing that you really don't know where life will take you, or you'll take yourself in life. And so I think you should say, like, well, for now, I'm really happy doing this. Who knows? You have to set goals and you have to move towards things. But I think just be careful that the goal or the skill or the title or whatever it is doesn't become who you are. You are something outside of that. You're in yourself. You're all those things, and you're the driver and the person. You're going along on this ride of life, and you may stop for a time in the introvert camp, or in the runner camp, or in the vegan camp. But you probably you don't know. Well, you don't know.
Yeah.
And so that's a happy thing.
Right.
And it may serve you for a time to learn from that group or from those experiences or from that identity, but you don't have to stay there forever. And so, if you feel like, I might actually want to move on from that. Now, I don't think that applies to everything, right? I can already see that you could take that to weird places. Like, right. I don't want to identify as my children's mother anymore. Like, I don't think that's helpful for anybody. But I think that you just have to let yourself change. And in fact, I talked to a woman once, and I told her I was a vegan, and she said, "Why did you call yourself a vegan?" I said, "Well, I am one." She's like, "Why didn't you just say that you don't eat animal products? Why did you say vegan?" And I'm like, well, I was kind of frustrated with her. I didn't know what she was trying to say, because I'm like, that's what it is. But she said, be careful with the titles and the labels you give yourself.
Yeah.
Because the fact that you had to tell me that instead of that just be the way that you eat is interesting. And I did not really understand, but I thought about it afterwards because it irked me, honestly.
Yeah.
And I realized that there probably was an element of wanting to identify as a vegan because it gave me that group and I had my people.
Everything that kind of goes
along with it. Yeah, and obviously if you've been around, you know that I do eat animal products now. I happily eat animal products now. So, I don't know. I think it's great to be you. I think it's great to be alive. And I think it's very exciting to change. And change requires cringe, and change requires fear, but you really can be so different than you were before. Things that you thought were core parts of yourself can actually change.
Right.
And so I guess I'll say this. You shouldn't be, I don't think you should be the standard for your choices. I think truth should be. Because I don't really understand myself. I have such limited views of things. So I should seek for truth. So like, I guess when people say like, I'm just trying to follow my truth, I think it would probably be better to say I'm trying to follow the truth. Like, what is the truth? What is the reality? What is that? And I try to move closer to that, because you're going to change. And so trying to base truth on you.
You mean how you feel? Or?
Yes, your feelings or some identity you've come up with.
Yeah.
Like let's say the way that you eat. You might actually find that it makes you feel terrible, or that it actually was causing another problem in your body. And so that actually wasn't the truth. So you should be seeking for the truth in your life, not your truth. And the truth is much more, it's way more powerful, and you can find a lot more clarity. And I don't know. I still haven't figured out exactly what that means, but I do know that there is a truth. The shape of the planet is not something that's
up for debate.
If we left the planet and we looked back at it, it would have a shape. And
although some people actually do debate that.
I know they do debate it, but but there is a truth. Let's say that the truth is that the world is flat. That's fine if that were true, but there is a truth. The world has a shape.
Right.
It's either a globe or it's a disc or whatever that people who believe the earth is flat.
We're on the globe camp, by the way.
Yeah, we belong to the globe camp. But the point is, there is a truth. And you should be seeking after that in your life. And I think sometimes the pursuit of self is not the pursuit of truth. And it can get really, now that we are so much into self-discovery, there's all sorts of books and podcasts and group identities and social media tribes that have formed to help you discover self. And that's where it can get weird. Right. And so maybe the truth is more important than self. And the truth is, you can change, and you will change. And it can be very happy, and you can become so much better and so much more than you are today. And the labels that you've given yourself. I mean, even a few years ago, talking to you, and you were like, I'm very introverted.
Yeah.
And I don't think you see yourself quite as introverted as you did then.
No, I don't think so.
You just don't think about it as much.
I actually don't think about it, but I'm also, I would not call myself an introvert either. But some days I don't want to go hang out with the crowd,
Yeah.
And some days I'm happy to go and do that. So
what does that mean about you?
What am I?
It doesn't mean, it just means that some days you
person,
like to hang out with the crowd and sometimes you don't. And so I guess,
how are we wrapping this up?
I guess now, bringing it all the way back to the beginning, the last few years have taught us maybe to think less about ourself and the identifiers of self, and just be like our grannies who didn't have any of those words, and our grandpies.
Grannies and grandpies.
Yeah, grannies and grandpies, where our life can be less full of definitions. It can be a little bit simpler and cleaner in the way of like, I would just like to keep learning things that sound interesting to me, and live very quietly. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have a YouTube channel, but it does mean that maybe I'm not trying so hard all of the time to, as I may have used to identify as a thing. I'm just me, and I learn and I change, and I say like, oh, what else would I like to become? What else would I like to learn? What else would I like to do and to know?
Right.
And not worry about how I fit in to the crowd as much, or don't fit in, or is there's a crowd out there, or do I have my people? I don't think we think that serves us as much as we used to think. We hesitate a lot more because I think we've surprised ourselves.
Right.
And so it's like, I'd like to surprise myself some more. And so maybe I shouldn't be so quick to decide what I am, because I'm not what I used to think I was. And it would be kind of exciting if I even, once again, got to become a lot nicer, a lot
you definitely could
wiser, a lot more patient, a lot more, you know, a million other things than I ever thought was possible for me. Or, I don't know, you know. I think I could go on. I don't have the answers, except that I feel like maybe that's not serving us. And it seems to be at a very high fever pitch now of like self-identity.
More and more and more.
Yeah, and so it's like maybe we could all pull back and just live a little bit quieter inside our brains about like and maybe no more labels. I mean, or maybe we are very, very, very careful with the labels and identities we accept for ourselves. So for us, that's been serving us.
Yeah.
And it's made our life a little bit more full of wonder. And also, it's like when you've been in a crazy city and then you go out to the countryside and it's like, oh, it's nice out here. Everything seems so simple, and the birds are, you know, flying around, and the wind is blowing through the grass, and you're like, this seems a lot clearer. And I think for me, taking away a lot of those labels and a lot of those group identities and a lot of those tribes and a lot of those self-identifiers has been like going to the countryside. We're like, oh, this is actually a lot more restful and a lot simpler out here. It just feels a little bit clearer. So,
right.
I don't know.
That's good.
Any last thoughts from you?
No, I don't think so. That's great.
All right, guys. Maybe you could, in the comments, let us know what maybe...
If you're watching on YouTube.
Yeah.
On one of our
or
podcasts.
if you're listening on the podcast and you want to come and chat, definitely come over to our YouTube channel and tell us what you think, and maybe any insights that you have. Because obviously this is an open-ended, there is no answer there. And maybe that's kind of perfect, because if I were to give you an answer, wouldn't that be kind of going against the very thing I just said?
That's true. Leave it open.
Yeah, we're all always evolving, and we're all these beautiful creatures that are so far beyond any group definition that we could give ourselves. That doesn't mean there are no titles. I am wife, mother, child of God. I like to call myself a disciple of Christ, those sorts of things, but
there's very few that are going to stick.
So thanks, guys. And welcome back to the podcast.
Yeah.
Welcome to our cozy little house. Until next time, see you then.
Bye.